we have successfully been able to demonstrate that if we assume that the square is side squared, we can show that the area of a rectangle formula should be base times height. And so now what we want to do is prove the other ones. So which is the next one in line? And I'm going to next prove the parallelogram is also base times height. But I don't need to show it based on a square. I can also show it based on a rectangle, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So if you take a look at this next slide here, you can see that what I'm going to do is rectify it. I'm going to take the little right triangle that's over here on the left-hand side, and I am going to translate it over there. So let me demonstrate this for you on an application called Geogebra. And it's a completely free application. You can open up your favorite web browser and you can get there. Just type in Geogebra, which is just smooshing together, geogebra.org, the words geometry and algebra, right? Okay. And then you hit that big purple button that says Start Calculator. Now, whenever you first start this, it is on the calculator menu item, but we don't want that. We want it on the geometry one, which is the one that's in the middle there. And you see you have all these tools of things that you can do. Now, unfortunately, it puts a graph grid over here, which you probably don't want. So on the right-hand side, there's this gear tool. If you click it, you can turn off the axes. You click it again. And then on this pull-down menu for show grid, let's turn that off. So click on no grid. And then you have a nice blank space to work. All right, however, there is a dedicated app for this on either Android or on Apple. You just open up your app store, wherever it might live, and you type in Geogebra, just like we did before. And the one that I'm specifically using is the Geogebra geometry. You can see that there's lots of Geogebra apps. We want the Geogebra geometry, so I'm going to open it. And this one will default to a nice white space, but it does have a calculator built in as well. So I'm going to go back over here to the geometry. And right now, all I can see are the basic tools. The movement tool points, segments, lines, polygons, and circles, blah, 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 blah. But there's a lot more tools, and to see them, you hit the word more, right? And then you can see we have an edit, construct, measure, lines, circles, polygons, and transform menu. And whoa, there's even more here too. Wow, okay. Yeah, so that's pens, like pen, freehand, and some sort of relation. All right, that's not what we need, though. All right, so we're tasked with trying to prove that the area formula for a parallelogram is base times height, just like the one for the rectangle. And it makes sense to tie it to a rectangle since it does have the same formula, right? But the shape looks different. So I might try to use the little segment tool that's right here and draw a parallelogram. So go ahead, give it a shot. To use your segment tool, you can just click in two different places and it'll connect it with a segment. Or I do believe that you can click and drag. So for example, I want the next side to hook into point A, so I can click and drag it. Oh yeah, that works perfectly. And then you try to, I want to make this as perfect as possible. So this looks like it's parallel, and then clicking on D and then dragging that back to B. Oh man, that looks fantastic, right? All right, now understand that anytime I click on the white space right now, it's still the segment tool that's highlighted. If I want to move something around, I need to use the move tool. And it's available in one of two places. Down on this lower left corner here, you can see this purple circle with a white arrow in it. That's the move tool. Or it's kind of like hitting escape or something. Or you can hit the word move in the basic tools. And now I should be able to move this around. And then watch what, oh man, are you kidding me? This does not stay a parallelogram. So this is going to be complete rubbish. This is not going to work for what we want it to. And the reason why is because at no point did we tell the shape that, hey, you have to stay parallel. You have to stay a parallelogram. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to come back up here to this hamburger menu button, and I am going to clear all. So I have a nice white blank space, and let's show more of that menu because we're going to need more of it. So in the basic tools, click on the segments, and we're only going to construct two of our sides with the segment tool. So just click and drag for the bottom of this for AB. Click on point A, and then drag it kind of upwards and to the right for the left-hand side. and it names it AC. Okay, for the other two sides of our parallelogram, we need to force them to be parallel to the other two sides that we currently have. And there is a tool for make something parallel. It's under the construct menu. So you can see basic tools, edit. The third one is construct. We have midpoint, perpendicular line, perpendicular bisector, and then the fourth one here is parallel line. To make a parallel line, you select two things. What point do we want our parallel line to go through? And what line do we want it to be parallel to? So I'm going to select point B, and then I'm going to select the line segment AC. Select those two things, and you can see that I have a parallel line that's drawn over there. All right, so go back to your movement tool by either hitting that purple circle over there at the bottom or the word move. And now whenever I move point C, notice that this stays parallel. It's nice. It's very satisfying, right? Okay, let's do that one more time to construct the top part of our parallelogram. I'm going to go back to the parallel line tool under the construct menu. Boom. And I select two things again. A point, that's going to be point C, and a line for it to be parallel to, which is this bottom here, which is AB. Click on that one. All right, there we go. We have ourselves a perfect parallelogram. But I don't want the lines to be in there. I want them to be segments like the other two sides. So what I'm going to basically do is trace over those two lines that I have with the segment tool, which is back on the basic tool. So you got move, you got point, segment is the third one again. So just trace over them. I click on point C, and then I click over here on this point of intersection, and a D will magically pop up there for that point of intersection. And it doesn't look like it did anything, but it did, promise you. It's just overlapping the line that's already there. And let's do the same thing for the right-hand side. So click on D, and then click on B. And again, the segment that I just drew is overlapping the lines. So in order to be able to see just the segments, we're going to hide the two lines. You can't delete it. If you delete it, your whole entire shape is going to disappear. So look on the Edit menu. On the Edit menu, we have Select Items. We have Show Hide Label. That's almost what we want, but the one we want is the third one, Show Hide Object. So if something is shown, it will hide it, and if something is hid, it will show it. All we got to do is click on whatever it is that we want to hide. We want the top line to be hid, which is line CD, so just click on it, and notice that it kind of grays it out. Same thing, click on the line on the right-hand side, the line BD, and it will gray it out. Once you go back to the Move tool, you'll see them disappear. And now we are left with a perfect parallelogram. It's wonderful, right? You can click on point C and move it around. A, it stays a parallelogram. B, it stays a parallelogram. And if you try to move D, it doesn't do anything because D was dependent upon the other parts of it. So it's completely locked in. All right. Now, parallelogram is supposed to have some sort of height in it. And remember, height has to make a right angle. It has to be perpendicular. And if you look into the construct menu one more time, there is one, the second one for perpendicular line. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to construct a perpendicular line. Kind of like with parallel lines, you need two things selected. You need a point for your perpendicular line to go through, and that's going to be point C for us. And you need a line for your perpendicular line to be perpendicular to, which is going to be this segment down here at the bottom, which is AB. So you just tap on that one. And there you see that we have a perfectly perpendicular line. But I want the segment instead of the line, so we'll do exactly what we did before. We'll trace over it with the segment tool. So click the segment tool, click point C, and then click the point of intersection down here, and it'll put a point E there. And remember, we don't want to see that whole entire line. We're going to hide it. Under the Edit menu, choose Show Hide. And notice that it showed the lines that we already have hidden because we're kind of in the Show Hide menu. And then tap on to gray out the line through C and E. And if I go back to my Move tool, all of those lines will disappear. And whenever I move this, it remains a height. If I do move it outside here, you can see it disappears because it's dependent upon the segment AB that I have drawn here. There is a way to take care of that, but this is good enough for the purposes of this particular sketch. Okay, now, I don't know about you, but I usually think of heights as being red, right? This is the official color for a height, so I'm going to actually color this thing red. And I do that by clicking on it. A submenu pops up, and you can see there's a little paint can. And then I am going to choose red. And then click back here on the white space, and now it stays red and it looks perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color in basically the right triangle and the quadrilateral, those two separate shapes that the height breaks this thing up into. And I'm going to color that in with the polygon tool. So go back up to basic tools up at the very top, and it's the fifth one. It says polygon. So to construct a polygon, you just click points. You click them in order. I'm going to first do the triangle. So I'm going to click on point A, then C, then E, and then to close off your polygon, you always have to end where you started. So I have to click point A again. All right, and now I want to do the same thing with the quadrilateral that's on the right-hand side. That quadrilateral, do you know what type of shape it is? That's right, it's a trapezoid. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to click on point C, D, B, E, and then I have to click back on C again to close it off. And I don't like the fact that these are the same exact color, so I'm going to change the color of the right triangle on the side, but I need to click the Move tool in order to do that. So click the Move tool again. If I tap on or click on the right triangle, the little sub-menu comes up. Hey, come here. And then we're going to change it to anything that you want. How about pink? That'll make it look nice. Right? That looks lovely. Now I want to be able to take this right triangle here and slide it to the right side of the diagram. Do you remember what that word is in geometry, to slide a particular shape across a plane? It's called translate. And you know what? If you scroll almost down to the bottom here, you can see the transform menu. And the very first item there is translate by a vector. You may not know what a vector is, but it basically just tells you what direction and how far to move something, okay? And we're going to translate this pink triangle over to the right side of the diagram. So to translate it, you first click it. I want to move that triangle, so I click it. And now I click what would be the vector. How do I want this thing to move? Basically, I want point A to be on top of point B, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I click on A, and then I click on B, and it moves everything that I had selected, that distance in that direction. All right, let's click back on the Move tool, and then I can move this thing around. And then it kind of spoils the illusion that I have a rectangle by having this right triangle over here on the left, my original one. So I'm going to hide it. I'm supposed to have moved it anyway, so to hide it, we remember how to do that. I go back up to the Show Hide menu, and I just tap on that so it kind of grays out a little bit, and then go back to the Move tool. There we go. And now you can see that what I have done is I have rectified my shape. I have turned it into a rectangle. So I should be able to come up with a formula for a parallelogram based on the area formula for a rectangle. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Here we go. So this little shape that is on here, this diagram is showing me that I took this right triangle and I slid it over to the right side of the diagram in order to make this rectangle, right? That's what we just did in GeoGebra. So I know that the area formula for a rectangle is supposed to be base times height. Do I have a base and a height for this particular rectangle, the red one that I've just drawn in here? This one right here? Let's get rid of this coloring. And I do. So originally, this segment here was B, which means for a parallelogram, this top side is also B. So I'll put a B there. Okay, in the height, we dictated as being an H, which means that the right side of this diagram is also H. So therefore, the area formula for a parallelogram is also base times height. It's absolutely beautiful. All right, in the next one, we're going to work on a triangle.